Bizarre Brain Comics. Oh, hello, my comic book friends, and welcome to Bizarre Brain Comics. I'm Gary, your host. And this is where I like to take a look at some older comics, talk a little bit about the characters and creators, and examine the stories and the art. Well, this time we're going to have a little look here at Drift Marlo, #1 from Dell Comics, 1962. Before I do that, though, so it's been quite a while since I've mentioned any of the other YouTube channels that I like to watch upon occasion. One is Gotham and Glam. That's Gotham, and then the and symbol, and then Glam. Another one is Aussie Comic Book Collector. That's Aussie as in Australia. Aussie Comic Book Collector. And another one is Random Comics from My Spinner Rack. Random Comics from My Spinner Rack. And that is the channel for from comic book inker Drew Geraci. So it's fun, and he likes to talk about stuff from his collection, and he so being an inker, he often talks about the inking job done in the comics. In the comics that he's looking at. Okay, Drift Marlo. As you can see, this is a really rough copy. Looks like some mice got in at it. Here, got that whole corner, and a little bit here. But it is readable, and that is what counts. Because we're all about reading the comics. It's not about putting them in a box and squirreling them away someplace. Although it can be that too. That's a way to preserve them. But this is about the reading. Okay, now, as I said, Drift Marlo #1, 1962. Drift Marlo is as a result of the interest in rockets in space in the early space age, early 60s, a small newspaper syndicate, General Feature Corporation, launched a space-related adventure strip called Drift Marlo in 1961. And Marlo was the head, and you get that last name from like Philip Marlowe, the hard-boiled detective. Drift Marlo, he was the head of the security department of an unnamed, possibly Cape Canaveral, U.S. Space Center. And he investigates crimes and spies, etc., on the Space Center. And his girlfriend, Claire, called him a galaxy gumshoe. The strip was created by Phil Evans, the writer, and art was by Tom Cook. And it lasted up until 1971, so it lasted 10 years. And I'd never heard of it before I picked up this book. And I've had this book for several months to a couple of years. I don't remember. Dell Comics published 2 issues based on the strip in 62. But there are no writer or artist's credits, so I don't know who wrote it. But I suspect it might have been Bob Fujitani as the artist. Because Bob Fujitani, it was a very good and very slick professional artist. And he had worked as an assistant off and on many times with Dan Barry on the Flash Gordon comic strip. And there are certain panels in here, which I'll try to show you at the time, that looks just like a Dan Barry face in those panels. This Dan Barry did Flash Gordon for many years, both first the dailies and then later dailies and Sundays. And I've talked about him many times while I was doing, whenever I have done some of the Flash Gordon stuff. So let's take a look. See, Drift Marlo, all brand new stories. Nice cover painting. I don't know who it's done by. I would possibly Mo Golub. I don't know. It definitely, because this is Dell, but this was just shortly after um, uh, Dell and Western Publishing split, and and a lot of the creators and as well as a lot of all the licensed material went with Western Publishing to their new imprint of Gold Key Comics. And and Dell had to start producing new original stuff, and so they got the license for Drift Marlo, and I think they also did at this time in there one or two issues of Steve Canyon. I'm not sure. Okay. Here it says, the unknown reaches of outer space appears more menacing as a frightening new presence looms over the project site. And it gives you the impression that Drift Marlo is an astronaut, because here he is in a pressure suit, but he is not an astronaut at all. And here's like some kind of weird spacey monster. So, Drift Marlo, Space Detective, and his file of the Periled Peacemaker. And one of the interesting things is here on the inside cover, it says, sincere thanks to the personnel of the 1st Strategic Aerospace Division, SAC, for their assistance with the research of the technical material. Although the characters' names and places are fictional, the backgrounds, equipment, hardware are authentically represented. What is, however, an even greater significance is the validity of the entire aerospace program, on whose success so much of the free world depends. Here you can see this wonderfully drawn panel here, and this very realistic looking rocket there. It's because a lot of the comics did not present rockets looking very realistically. And of course, this is Drift Marlo himself. And it starts out on this is the Peacemaker project, and they're out at the launch pad in the process of the assembly, and the security is of course being overseen by Drift Marlo, and Dr. Barkus is in charge of this with his secretary. It's Dr. Hugo Barkus and his secretary Claire, and Drift Marlo himself. And Claire is his girlfriend, and she's thinking something happens, and a car comes driving out and crashes into a boulder that had been moved at some time, and oh my gosh. Drift helps him out, and this is Dr. Fowler, and he's been acting kind of weird lately. And he's here to says, none of you realize the suicidal thing you'll do if you launch that space menace. And he's out to stop the launch of what they call the Peacemaker. But Dr. Fowler is acting somewhat odd, and he apparently at times because he's been physically and psychologically exhausted working on this project, and it was his project, and now he's trying to stop it, and then he switches and talks about old projects that he has worked on before, years past, like radar and television and the like. See, and here's one panel that looks so much like Dan Barry, some Dan Barry faces. And you see here, this is where they bring the Atlas booster rocket upright on the pad. And everything looks so realistic. The gantry, the equipment, everything looks so realistic. And then they're in the process of raising the Peacemaker payload up to be mounted on top of the rocket. Meanwhile, they're all talking about the mission and Dr. Fowler, etc. Even here, they're fueling up the tanks and all of that, because the next day or so they're supposed to be the launch. And meanwhile, all this time, Claire is trying to ask Marlo if he's going to take her to the costume ball that's going to be taking place here in the near future. And every time she tries to ask, he gets distracted. So, hey, Marlo, something's going on. Or found some weird footprints out here. Okay, we go check that out. Now she's exasperated, and he sees these weird footprints in the sand. This is at night now, down near the launch site, and it says, "What the heck is this? Some kind of creature." This is obviously where those prints came from. And he gets to grappling with the creature and gets clunked in the head with a rock and stunned. The air police get there in time, get him, and he's fine. Then they're getting down for the countdown of launching the Peacemaker. Now this is kind of foretelling, because this device did not exist at the time, but they had a concept of it, and this is foreshadowing of 20 years later the ABM systems that were the Star Wars project was trying to put into effect. This is a system that was to be put in orbit and detect enemy launches, and then fire counter missiles to knock out enemy missiles that would be coming in. And this is 20 years before, and of course it was in concept going back that far, the ABM anti-ballistic missile system. And there they are, and the system, here we are, counting down. He's watching through periscope. They're in the blockhouse in safety, and this is really cool, because it's a very realistic looking Atlas rocket with the payload on top. As it begins to ignite, and boom, takes off and off into heading towards orbit. And that's some very good drawing and representation there of the actual thing. Must have been using production art and the like, concept art, as well as probably actual photos of some of the real stuff. And there it is in orbit, and gets in position. Then Dr. Fowler shows up, and he's chastising everyone, says, "Idiots, fools," and all that stuff. And this is when he notices that Dr. Fowler has one shoe that is built up, and he wonders what the deal is on that. So he's got a bum leg. So Claire is trying to ask him again about the ball. He gets interrupted again, and one of the air police gives him some photographs. Says, "I got some pictures of that critter, of that thing you wrestled with last night." And go, "Yep, that's it, all right." And so then he said, finally, she gets the chance to, "Are you taking me to the ball or not? I've got a costume for you." And yeah, okay. And then he asks the other doctor, Hugo there, whatever his last name was, is anything strange going on? I said, "Well, the only thing I know is my costume has gone missing." What is his costume for the ball? And they can't find it anywhere. They looked and they can't find anything. So there he is that night. He's still thinking about this the mystery that's going on, and he's got his costume is like some kind of space hero. Looks like a Flash Gordon, and here he is. Looks just like Flash Gordon. Looks just like a Dan Barry Flash Gordon. He's still thinking about the creature. He said the creature had a limp that he saw, and he's putting things together. With Dr. Fowler, the crash, the footprint, he's still thinking about stuff, and he's late for picking the girl up. Says, I'll meet you there in a few minutes, and he's suspicious, so he takes the fake ray gun out of his little holster and checks his own gun, looks like a .38, and puts it in his space holster, so just in case he needs it. So there he is at the officers club, meets Claire, said, "Have you seen Hugo anywhere?" Says, "Hugo, how am I supposed to know?" She says, then you see all the people in costumes. Then here's one of the air policemen go, "Look, the monster!" And he's right there, and he jumps the monster and says, "No, it's Hugo. He's in the there." "Oh my gosh!" Says, "Yeah, my costume turned up." Said, so he puts things together. So I know what happened. I gotta go. I gotta go. And he takes off, and Claire is not happy. He goes to the launch pad, to the launch site, drives out there, and there he sees Dr. Fowler, and says, "No," says this because this is going to be because the next day is the launch of the Target to test the system, the Target rocket to test the system, and he's I can't allow this, and so he was concerned because it has these weapons pointed down at Earth, which could be a possible disastrous. And he describes how he has booby trapped that incapacitated that rocket with a little did something on some circuit, and now it won't fly. He talks Dr. Fowler down. They get in the car and they take off. Says, "I've got a thermos of coffee here in the car. Let's have some coffee and talk about it while Drift isn't looking." Dr. Fowler puts some sedatives in the coffee that he gives to Marlo while they're driving along, and he gets so groggy very quickly. He pulls off, and then suddenly it's the next day. He's waking up and it's T minus 60 seconds and counting. Oh no! Because with this, it won't launch, and it could be disastrous. A disastrous launch is what we called when I was in the Navy with launching actual missiles that would go awry, called snake killers, and they were very dangerous. But he's still so groggy, he's struggling, trying to go, and he collapses. He was almost there, but not quite, and his time is running down. 8, 7, 6. Oh no! And he gets his gun, draws a bead on one of the power boxes outside, on the outside of the blockhouse, and shoots it and knocks the power out, so stopping the launch. He finally gets there and says, "It's I know what's happened. It's Dr. Fowler. He booby trapped the thing, so in just a little bit they got everything repaired on both the blockhouse and the rocket, and then they have a successful launch, and then the weapon system is up and running and launches an intercept missile because it uses infrared sensors to detect a launch, and then kablooey, blows the test missile out of the sky. Yay! It all works fine. And they go and pick up Dr. Fowler, talk to him, and he's talking. And here he has no idea. He has no idea what's happened. He does not know what he did, and he's talking about inventing television. So obviously he is not going to be in that position any longer, and probably go to some kind of rest home so he can rest, recuperate, and get his faculties back. And that is the end of this one. Then they have a thing on the inside back cover, which you can't read very well, talking about Project Midas, which wasn't in effect at the time, but a projected system for early warning of launch of ICBMs from another country at America. So that was it. You see, it's not really a space thing at all, but it's close, and it was thrilling, interesting. I really enjoyed reading it myself at the time. So that is all